So I was doing a little research on Antarctica, which is, by all measures, a key puzzle piece in this end time, the revelation, the revealing of the truth that we're all a part of, that we're all working on right now. And and we've all seen recently how all of the politicians are visiting there, the Pope is visiting there, Orthodox Christians from Russia are visiting there. Every major political and religious leader are making these mysterious trips to Antarctica. So anyway, I've been researching this a long, long time, trying to form my opinion before I actually started making videos on it. And that's not really what this video is about. What this video is about is just one little tiny thing that I stumbled across while I've been studying this. And it's this MyLab guy. And if you're MeLab, MyLab, however you want to pronounce it, what it stands for is military abductee. There's just a lot of ways that these military abductees get enrolled in these programs. Some of them claim just through testing in schools or family ties and that type of thing. But more often than not, these are children and adults who were first involved in the cabal, meaning that they were either abducted by aliens and then subsequently abducted by the military to be debriefed or interrogated or chemically, with truth serum type drugs to be, they were once traumatized by the cabal, and then the small fragments, like QAnon talks about, these white hats in the military or whatever, or even more sinister ones, then abduct them a second time to get information about their abduction and their interactions with these Nephilim, demon spawn hybrid humanoid races. And other people they were abducted by parts of the cabal, like in the human trafficking rings and stuff, and then other parts of the military who are doing intelligence gathering on the cabal, then abduct them also, and they rescue them from these human trafficking rings, this deep underground stuff, not the stuff that we see, on the surface. I'm talking about the really deep, dark truth. So the kids and the people rescued out of those places, they're given new identities, how we do like in a witness relocation program. And so a lot of them end up in these programs like that, working with the military. Now, this video is about this particular whistleblower who is part of this program, who are one of these military abductees who were in these covert programs, and what he says about what's going on in Antarctica and below the surface and all this kind of stuff. Now, I want to make it clear, this is my disclaimer. I do not believe everything this person says. That's just a fact. And I hate to be that way because I absolutely know these people are victims. And the one problem that I really have with the whistleblowers, and I know they're victims, so I don't, I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying that when they come out and they talk about these MK Ultra programs and how they were, programmed with these mind wipes and these slides, and they were drugged and made to sit in front of these movies to replace their memories with fake memories. And then they come out and, their programming's breaking down and they're on the circuit whistleblowing. It's just hard to know, even for them to know, which memories are implanted memories and which memories are real memories. So even if they're trying to do a good thing, they might really still be doing their job. They even say when they go out, on the circuit, they say things like, oh yeah, I saw, it's like Kathy O'Brien. Oh, she saw people be programmed to infiltrate the truth movement, the conspiracy theory movements and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden she comes out at a certain point in her life, you know, her programming breaks down to a certain level and she's out infiltrating the truth movement. And yet it seems like the majority of these whistleblowers never come full circle. They will pour out a whole bunch of truth into the truth movement until a whole bunch of people start following them. And then they'll lead those people right into the New Age movement, right back in to, antichrist movements, and, you know, lots of different movements. We even see like Dr. Stephen Greer. He is at the forefront of this UFO research, and he has awesome research with the trace evidence, the actual science, all of that. But after you follow Stephen Greer, he leads you right back into channeling aliens. And, you know, as we know that these humanoid hybrids are the demon spawn, they're actual hybrids from the fallen angels talked about in Genesis 6, creating these many different species that are all humanoid, and they're hybrid beings from these demon spawn. But, you know, Dr. Stephen Greer, he'll lead you back to saying, oh, well, we can't see them that way. You know, we have to learn to work with them and all that, which kind of brings you right back where the cabal is. So anyway, now I'm gonna play some stuff in his own words about stuff that he says that he has been taken many times by these covert agencies, not many times, but a few times, into the cities and the underground tunnels underneath Antarctica.
Under the ice, about 2 miles under the ice, there's a huge industrial complex, buildings all over the place. It looked very industrial, smoke coming out of them, steam coming out of them, very human looking. And there were giant submarines under the ice that had popped up that were the size of, I guess, the giant ships that carried the big shipping containers. It was huge, and I saw these submarines being unloaded with giant cranes that were reaching in the top that rolled back and pulling out these giant containers.
So when he said that about the underground submarines and going through these channels and stuff that lead all over the place, including up to the coastlines of America, it reminded me of this guy's dreams and visions that he had posted years ago. This is 2005 and 2006. That's 10 years before this whistleblower even came out. But anyway, he had seen exactly that. He had had these dreams and visions, these end time dreams and vision about a nuclear attack. And you can see here, he drew it out. This is the cavern roof. He said there were marinas under there, and these well, there's basically warships and submarines under there, and that they can, and then they had these openings. And I don't have time to look up all the pictures, but you remember seeing that over in Asia, that they had it. China got caught with those openings along the coastline that we took pictures of from satellite, and it was all the scandal. But that's exactly what he says here. It says secret submarine base, Russia, China, North Korea. I'll put the link to these videos so you can watch them. He's got a copyright thing on there, so he must want to keep them to himself or whatever, but I'll put the link down there. The second thing that totally reminded me of is that we have been talking about all this video right here I did, the FEMA barges, Google ships, mobile prisons. And I did a video about that, about how they were spotted off the coastline for years before they were in use. And it really bugs everybody that they're essentially made out of shipping containers. And they have little rooms in them, you know, almost like little hotel rooms, little one-room units, like prisons. You can click on the video. Please go back and watch it. It's a little bit startling. It's clearly a prison. They're clearly jail cells. But anyway, they're made out of shipping containers, so they can be transported, you know, they can be put on trains or boats, or, you know, moved around. They can be broke down into shipping containers, and that's worrisome to everybody. So when you hear this guy talking about the underground submarines, that these cranes came out, he said, and were removing shipping containers out of them, which leads us to this, my other video that I did, that everybody's talking about this on lots of different videos. You can Google disappearing or vanishing people, or where are the homeless going. 200,000 missing people, FEMA camps and all that. This video right here, that there are vanishing homeless people everywhere. And, you know, with the human trafficking, and if you get into the Nephilim and their practices, and I don't even want to say it because the Google bots will search my words and they probably won't let me put this video up. But you know, if you know, you know what they say is going on underground there. But anyway, this video is about all of the missing people. And then this one is about the FEMA barges and the Google ships and all of that. So I thought that was odd that he said that about the shipping containers being taken out. Another thing Oh, I almost forgot. Here's another one that might pertain to those shipping containers. This is the Russian 3M54 Club K container missile system. If you've watched any of the Walmart videos about all of these strange shipping containers being put in their parking lots, and you'll see that people have brought this up pretty often about could that be what these are, that these missiles are being stationed all over America and they just look like shipping containers. And this is a real weapon. It's called the Russian 3M54 Club K container missile system. Okay, and this is the part where he talks about actually going through the tunnel system and that part of the tunnels come up even on the coastlines of America.
We went over this sort of a bay of warmer water that was lapping the shores next to this industrial area I saw. And instead of flying in the direction I thought we were, we went straight down the way that these submarines came from. And we ended up entering this large rift system that is the West Antarctic Rift system or something like that. And we went very deep underground and traveled through this rift system that had been tunneled out by some ancient alien race that allowed you to travel from Antarctica all the way up to Central America and the southern and southwestern parts of the United States, all completely underwater.
He's saying that there are underground bases, FEMA camps, underground FEMA tunnels and FEMA bases that were supposed to be turned over to new leaders in these secret services and stuff like that when the new president took office, and there was a rogue element in the tunnels that locked them out. And so a war took place not between aliens and humans. A war took place underground between rogue CIA or rogue intelligence agencies and FEMA groups and cabal groups and this group of white hats, this group of good guys that were in these intelligence communities and in the Marines and in the military and in the, all these different agencies. Listen to what he says, because he's talking about a war underground for these FEMA camps between rogue elements of the government and good elements of the government.
Well, the raptors were remnants of the dinosaurs, and they went underground to survive, and they're sort of a proto-dinosaur bird. They have plumes of feathers on them. They have real jerky movements. They're super fast, and they're carnivorous. So the incident that I was talking about that involved the Marines was not long ago, after the current president took over. Some of the bases that were built by FEMA but not controlled by FEMA were supposed to be turned over to the new leaders of these different groups under the new president. But some of them refused and locked the doors. And Marines were sent in to basically drill holes through these walls, cut through the rebar and steel, and go in and arrest these people. And if the people refused to give up, these Marines were ordered to wipe out everyone in the base. And in one of these occasions, they had to go in, and they were under orders to wipe everyone out. And in the battle, these Marines were shocked to become face-to-face with 8-foot-tall reptilians who were fighting them. And these Marines had zero briefings that ETs even exist, let alone they would run into them and have to do battle with them. So all of a sudden, they're standing there in front of the devil or a demon with the M16 doing battle with them.
Since we're talking about clearing the tunnels and everything here, I want to make a point. A lot of people, when they talk about the Raphaim and the Nephilim and these hybrids, they think about just like the giants. You hear a lot about the Nephilim and the giants. And yes, that's one race of Nephilim or Raphaim. And you know how we, earlier on my channel, before it got taken down, I had that Kandahar giant, where the military battled that giant in Afghanistan. L.A. Marzulli has it, Steve Quayle has it, so you can still find all the footage there with them. And then, like we've talked about, Phil Schneider bumping into the Greys underground and fighting with that Nephilim race. And then now I've just put up this about these raptors and the military battling with them. There's also been a couple of, besides just in the tunnels, there's apparently a huge cover-up of all the Nephilim races. So, if you followed anything about the Bigfoot and the Dogman encounters, you'll always see the same type of military cover-ups. Now, I've had a personal experience with one of these cryptids, and the same exact thing with the helicopters came in and weird stuff in the woods and shooting and all of that stuff. So I wanted to throw these two. It's just like 2-minute clips on each one, but I wanted to throw these in here because I want people to understand that the cover up on these Nephilim races, that it's not just about giants and it's not just about alien grays, that there are lots of different cryptid humanoid hybrid races, and they're covering them all up. So anyway, here's a clip about the military and Bigfoot. They were on a marijuana farm doing a different military action, and they came across a female Bigfoot that was, her foot was caught in a bear trap, because the marijuana farmers, they put bear traps and stuff out, you know, to keep the thieves and the police and everybody away. And anyway, one of these cryptids, this Bigfoot, Sasquatch female, was caught in there, and her family was there surrounding her, had come to her calls. And that's when they had called in this team, and they didn't know what they were going up to battle. They thought they were going up to some sort of drug farming operation, but they were actually brought in to take care of these cryptids. So this is on Brenton Sawin's channel, and he's got some great stories on there. So I'm just going to play this clip, and then I'll put the link below so you can go listen to the whole story. It's fascinating. It's really kind of sad. I'm not going to play it all because it's very graphic, and it's really kind of sad.
At this point, when he first said that, did you think that it was maybe people guarding the crop?
Yeah, that's absolutely what I thought. I was in the commander's hatch, which is in the middle of the 113. My driver had his head stuck out of the driving, the hole there. And then we had two guys in the back where I had them open up the hatch, which is called an observer hatch. And we all had our CVCs on, which is how you communicate over, these armored vehicles are very loud. They're diesel. They go like, wah! And so you have to have the CVCs on so you can talk to each other and hear each other over the noise. And so anyway, I told driver move out. So he moved out, and we pulled up there, and I said, driver, stop, turn on the lights. We turned on the lights, and I'm going to tell you something, man. I saw something that I never will forget. There was, Brenton, when you're seeing this, it takes your mind a good 30, 40 seconds to go, what is that? And then, you figure it out, and then they react, and then you react. So the helicopter's over us, they're blowing, and I'm asking them, can you back off a little? Because, he's blowing the marijuana leaves off, and it's dust coming up, and it's hard for us to see. So by that time, the Humvee had caught up to us, to the three guys in there, and then Deuce and a Half pulled up. And Deuce and a Half had the officer in charge. He was the captain. And I was the NCOIC, the non-commissioned officer in charge. So we're looking out there, and my driver goes, what the F is that? Imagine this, if you will. Right in the middle of this field, damn near in the middle, are four monsters, 5 really if you count the baby, that I never thought would have existed. But they were covered in hair, fur, whatever. And when we hit them with the lights, man, they were not happy at all. And state police said, go ahead and move in. And I said, what does that mean exactly? And the officer in the Deuce and a Half said, light them up, boys. And I said, roger that. So I said to the guys in the 113, I said, lock and load.
Okay, here's another one. This one was Florida, even though this is the Cryptid Brothers investigation out of Oklahoma. This particular incident happened in Florida, and it's exactly like what happened in Ohio, which was not even the one that I just played. It's really common. So these black SUVs show up, they call in these military units, and they go after these cryptids and remove them, which is exactly what this whistleblower is saying about all of the quote unquote alien races, that they have these teams weeding them out and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm only going to play about a minute or two of this hour-long story. I will put the link below. This is the part about the military coming in, but the story is about a Florida mother who shot a Bigfoot that had come up in her yard, and they had made the mistake of calling the sheriff's department and telling them, and that's when all of this started. So this picked up the next day when her neighbors their dog came up missing, and they were out in the backwoods. It was like 30 or 40 acres. Looking for the dog, but instead they got ran off of their property. They weren't even looking for Bigfoot and or anything to do with that, but because of the Bigfoot incident that had been called in, this military unit was in there, and it goes into, they recovered a body and all of this stuff. But this is, like I said, it's just a minute or so clip of them encountering these military units in there covering this up. And this is at a local level that they just called the sheriff, and then conservation came in, and then the black SUVs. And so this is nationwide, worldwide. They know all about it. The government knows all about it.
The neighbor's woods, only about 50 to 60 yards in the woods as they were walking, and they heard something at first, and then they turned and they saw, all three of them saw military soldiers with firearms walking slowly in neighbor one's woods. And my source said that there was about 10 soldiers. They were in fatigues, and they had their helmets on, and they were all carrying AR-15s. He said that neighbor one approached one of the soldiers who was kind of breaking away from the group to approach him. And neighbor one said, what are you guys doing on my property? Because neighbor one has his property posted everywhere. No hunting, no fishing. Because all of the livestock he has around his property, he doesn't want anyone to come in there and mess with his livestock or his land. And the soldier came forward, was a sergeant. And he said, and he could tell from the patch, it was a sergeant, and he said, we're conducting a military exercise, sir. And neighbor one said, not on my property. No one gave anybody authority to do that. And the sergeant said, we can go anywhere we want, sir. And neighbor one said, who's in charge here? So the sergeant said, my lieutenant, who was up a little ways and came walking forward to neighbor one. He can see that he was talking to the sergeant. And he stepped up, and this lieutenant was a young guy. My source said he was probably about somewhere around 24, 25 in age. And he basically said he was a kind of a cocky ass, is what he said. And he spoke to my neighbor and said, he looked at neighbor one, and he said, you either get off the property now, or we'll have to remove you from the property immediately. Then neighbor one said, who is your commander? And the lieutenant didn't say a word. He said, we will remove you if you do not leave now, sir. Now, what was very interesting, my source said, is that while they were talking to this military personnel standing there about 50 or 60 feet into neighbor one's wood line, some of the military, there was a military-like helicopter flying overhead and through neighbor one's woods.
So anyway, I'll just stop it there. But it goes on to talk about this, them being harassed, several of the neighbors, by these, sort of typical Men in Black types that pulled up in these black Lincolns and, would basically intimidate them, just intimidation and stuff. And, then it blew over and they moved on. But these couple of clips, hopefully suffice it to say that they know about the multiple races of Nephilim. They know all about it. I'm not sure if they know who they are or if they're deceived themselves, thinking that these interdimensionals are coming from outer space, because you hear a lot of that from the whistleblowers too. They won't go as far as agreeing with the biblical narrative that instead of coming from outer space and different stars, that these quote unquote aliens are actual interdimensionals, just like the Bible talked about, these angelic beings that shifted between dimensions and stuff, that these aren't extraterrestrials, they're extra dimensionals. And, these humanoid hybrids, these cryptids, are actual humanoid hybrids. And from that contamination of the human gene pool and all of these Nephilim, Raphaim races that it talked about, not just in the Bible, but in all of the ancient quote unquote mythologies. I mean, we know that the cabal works with many of these alien races. So, and, they've exchanged technologies for back engineering and all of that type of thing. So, I don't know if they themselves are deceived by these demons, or if they know that they're demons and monsters and they're just monsters themselves. A lot of they're psychopaths and sociopaths, they're monsters in the cabal. So I don't know if there are elements of you can hear like the military and people involved in this. A lot of them didn't even know what they were being sent into. So I think it's probably so compartmentalized that it's a little bit of everything. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your take on it.